It has intercepted and destroyed 33 Ukrainian drones overnight across 5 regions, Crimea and the Black Sea. At least 8 Russian airports were forced to suspend operations, according to the aviation watchdog. In southern Russia, 2 people were injured in Slavyansk-on-Kuban, where schools and kindergartens were also closed due to the attacks. In the Rostov region, 7 drones were downed, but an electricity pylon was damaged, leaving more than 200 homes without power, local officials say. I have my guest joining me, Major General Dr. Rajan Kochar, Senior Strategic and International Affairs Expert, and he's joining me from New Delhi. Now, of course, I want to begin by asking you for your opening comments.
Thank you, Vishali. This war is actually going on both sides. Russia is also using drone as well as Ukraine. And Ukraine wants to remain relevant in this war. And that's why we are seeing this 33 drones being launched. Though reportedly, I don't think much of damage has been caused, because most of the areas where they were intercepted was Bryansk, Kursk, and Belgorod, which are very close to the Russian and the Ukrainian border. So I feel that this war is going Russia's way, because we may find a mention of these drones being launched by Ukraine. They are too few in number to cause damage, and a message is also going to the world as well as to Ukraine that the Russian air defense system is quite robust, and it is quite capable of intercepting these drones. But a cost factor will always be there, because the cost of interceptors and the cost of intercepting the drone will always be there. And to that extent, I think Ukraine would be happy to see that it is inflicting some kind of a cost on the Russians. But in the larger context, I don't think this is going to matter, because the way things are there on the ground, the winters are approaching. Russia is trying to strike at the energy infrastructure of Ukraine. The logistic infrastructure of Ukraine, as we have seen, almost 23% of the rail network has been damaged by the Russians, almost 10,000 kilometers of railway line. So I think Russia is not interested for a ceasefire as of now. Russia is not interested for any kind of a peace plan as of now. Russia wants this war to stretch into the winters. And possibly after the winters are over, there may be a window when we are talking of Trump's peace plan, because Trump's peace plan must take into account the red lines which the Russians have mentioned to Ukraine, and especially to Zelensky, saying that whatever territory has been captured, it's non-negotiable. No return of land is envisaged, and especially in the Donbass area. Western Donetsk, the fighting is on, Zaporozhye, Kherson, and now Odessa as well as Kharkiv. So to sum it up, I would like to say that this war is not stopping anymore, and much more concessions will have to be given by Zelensky if he wants to come on the table, and if he wants to make the Russians interested, because right now Russians are not interested to come on the table.
Major General Kochar, now the concern is also that, Trump's secret peace plan to end the Russia-Ukraine war has also been called controversial in many ways. Would you like to explain that to our viewers?
No peace plan can be one-sided. And that is why it becomes controversial. When you make a peace plan, you first have negotiations, meetings with each other, come to a common meeting point, and thereafter issue out your peace plan. It's like Americans saying that we have a peace plan and we have a draft ready, and the Russians also saying that we also have a peace plan and our draft is also ready. So when you have these kind of statements being passed by both the leaders of both the countries, uh, the controversy automatically comes because right now nobody knows what is in the Trump peace plan. Because unless those details are made public, it would be difficult to comment on the content of the peace plan. But the methodology, we are commenting on the methodology part of it. And the methodology itself is wrong because no peace can happen unless the two opposing sides are in agreement to go for peace. Because right now, my analysis and my reading of the situation is that the Russians are not interested for any kind of a negotiation on a peace plan.
All right, Major General Kocher, I'd request you to stay on with me. Now, the Kremlin says it has not yet been informed that Ukraine is ready to negotiate a peace plan proposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. This comes as the White House says the plan is good for both sides, dismissing concerns it mirrors many of Moscow's demands. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky insists any deal must ensure a dignified peace. Zelensky has met senior U.S. military officials in Kyiv, including Secretary of the Army Daniel Driscoll, and Kyiv says it is ready to work constructively with Washington. A call between Trump and Zelensky is expected soon, with Ukraine confirming it has already received a draft of the plan, though details remain undisclosed. And I have Major General Dr. Rajan Kocher back with me on the broadcast. Now, Major General Rajan Kocher, we were discussing earlier about the peace plan. But the question really is, even in the past, Trump and Zelensky haven't really agreed on many things. So do you think that this particular phone call will work?
Difficult to say because phone calls, I don't think negotiations can be concluded. But definitely, a phone call may set the tone for a future negotiation. Because I feel this phone call is relevant because some sort of communication has been opened between Trump and Putin. So, in case there are some positive signals which Trump is sending to Putin, and it takes into account the Russian viewpoint, because most important is that this peace plan must take into account the Russian viewpoint. And if Trump is able to convince Putin that the Russian viewpoint has already been taken care of in this peace plan and we need to discuss it, I think that will be a positive signal. And I think that is the way Trump has also planned it out because Zelensky has been given a draft of the peace plan, and I don't think Zelensky has any choice because he has reached a stage where the Russians are occupying. Every day there is a loss of territory, a loss of infrastructure, loss of energy resources. So I think Ukraine is on the back foot as of now, and Trump is sensing an opportunity now in which he may be able to convince Putin to come onto the table and discuss this peace plan.
Major General Kocher, please stay on with me. Now, the U.S. President Donald Trump evoked the death penalty for Democratic lawmakers